So I wanted to bring you a quick tip today that something that we did really over the summer. And I'm embarrassed to admit, honestly, I've been in the startup game for a long time and yet was guilty of not doing this sooner and not paying enough attention. So what is that? It's win attribution. So it's the act of taking every single close that you've ever had and figuring out where did it come from to the best of your ability. Sometimes you don't know exactly where a customer might have come from. To the best of your ability, figure out where every single deal came from and take it a step further. Figure out where they came from. So now you have a sense for how many wins are coming from each channel. That enables you to calculate a simple cost of acquisition, which is, of course, super important, because you know how much you're spending on each channel. So it should be easy to calculate. You can take it a step further and you can look at your LTV, your lifetime value from each client by channel. And then you can go further and you can actually calculate profitability by channel, which is also super important. So we hadn't done that exercise until really this summer for Fraction. And I suppose it mattered more because in this case, we were using quite a few different channels. So if you take a look here, you see, we had paid ads, we had cold outbound email, we had conferences, networking and referrals, and then of course, social media. So all these different channels, and we were just making assumptions as to what was working, what wasn't working. If I go back to that history a little bit, we were paying an outside agency for about a year and a half, maybe a little more than that, to do cold outbound. And initially it worked really well. Context, this was late 2022 until early 2024. And it was working extraordinarily well, really helped build our business in the early days with Fraction. But the wheels fell off on that channel in late 2023, and we waited a while, tried to get it back. But around that time, something changed with cold outbound email. The major email providers, the Google's, Gmails of the world, they tightened up their spam filtering. Of course, now we're in the AI era, both on the content side, but also on the filtering side. So it's sort of laughably easy for them to categorize emails into whatever bucket they want. And the chances of traditional cold outbound, just go down as a result. So if I write in, the number here, if you're curious about what were our cost of acquisitions, and I'll jump into it. But I don't know. I'm wondering, what do you think was the cheapest channel? Well, here, let me write in the figures. All right, so if we take a look at this, not sure if it meets what your expectations would have been, but paid ads turned out to be by far and away our most expensive channel. So that's Meta, LinkedIn. LinkedIn ads, believe it or not, even though we're B2B, were by far and away the most expensive channel in terms of not just the ads themselves, but the cost per close, the cost per acquisition was off the charts high. And we didn't see that the quality was necessarily any higher in terms of clients. Meta was a little bit cheaper than LinkedIn, but in both cases with paid ads, we found that the quality of the deal in terms of its lifetime value was lower than other channels as well. So then you see cold email, $7,500. When it was working, it was working. And that's a reasonable for our business. That's a reasonable cost of acquisition. It was working. Unfortunately, the wheels fell off. And I have to say today that we don't see any way of reviving it. I think that others have said this as well, but we find that cold email is a dying channel. And I think that in no small part, that's, part of the change that AI brings to the table in terms of filtering, also in terms of just the volume of AI slop so that response rates have crashed essentially down to zero. Networking and referrals, if you could scale that, and we are investing more there, but there's sort of a limitation in terms of in-person networking, each human scales. And so we may invest more in that, but it did prove to be an effective channel. And then referrals, I bucket that in there, but I actually don't look at referrals as being a channel, at least they're not a starting point channel. So they are like a multiplier effect. The higher the quality of your service or product, the more referrals you will get. So it's almost like payback for having a great customer experience. And so it's an investment that comes as much from that side of the house. Now you have to action it. You have to take the steps needed to get the referrals, and running a good referral program is part of that. So it's an area worth investing. But in terms of scalability, the last two items on this list, conferences, just meeting people in person, we have found to be effective and scalable. And so it's something that we're going to be doing a lot more of. And then social media content. goes without saying that, of course, it can scale. If you're wondering about the cost there, well, you can make social media content for free, right? The cost added into all of these numbers, it's not just the cost that we paid, it's also the cost of production, including the cost of our team's time. So when you do these calculations, you want to take that seriously and include some factor for, roughly how much time are you spending and what is the cost of your time, because you could be spending on other parts of your business. And so we include that there. Still, it's a relatively low cost and scalable channel. So all said, because of this analysis that we did this past summer, that's why we shut paid ad spending down. We realized that it just wasn't working. And it wasn't until I sat down with the spreadsheet and broke down the numbers that it became, transparently obvious. And so I would encourage you to do the same. If you haven't, it's, maybe the exercise, depending on how much data you have, maybe it's a couple of hours. AI can help you cut that down. You'll want to check the figures, of course, but get it done because the results might surprise you. In our case, we went from a $30K a month Meta ads budget to zero, and we're reinvesting that in other channels, and we're seeing it make a difference.